Once you've successfully mounted your tire on your rim, the next step is to balance that wheel assembly. Balancing the wheel assembly offsets any heavy spots and prevents vibration when you're driving the vehicle on the highway especially. In order to balance this assembly, we're going to use an electronic wheel balancer. What this machine is going to do is spin the wheel assembly on this shaft, taking some very precise measurements, and then it's going to indicate where we have to install weights to compensate for the heavy spots. Prior to balancing any tire, you're going to want to make sure that the tire pressure has been already set. This wheel came off a vehicle, and I know from checking it previously that it is already at the recommended 32 psi, so it's all set to go on the machine. Before we mount it on the shaft, we have to be able to center it on the shaft so that the measurements are not interfered with. Centering it on the shaft is going to rely on steel cones that come with the machine that fit that shaft very precisely, and as well fit the center bore of this rim. So I'm going to check this cone first. Now, this cone does go through the opening, but not very far, which means it's not ideal for this application. We're going to set that off to the side and try the next size down. The next size down does not go all the way through, but it goes quite a ways, which is really good. That's going to help this wheel center on the shaft, and that's going to be the one we're going to use. When sliding the cone onto the shaft, you want to be very careful not to get the webbing of your hand between your thumb and your index finger pinched between the threads and the cone. That can be very painful and takes a long time to heal, so you want to make sure that you keep your hands well clear of that. Now that the cone is in place, I'm going to slide my tire on, and it's placed on the cone, so now I can take the wing nut, thread this all the way down, and tighten it down. Now what I like to do is give this a little spin with my hands now, and that will allow you to pick up if it's way out of whack. In this case, I know this rim is bent a little bit, so I can see that in the wheel assembly, but I know it's centered properly on the machine. And that means that we're ready to take the measurements of the wheel assembly required to get an accurate balance out of the machine. The first piece of information that the tire balancer is going to need to know is where this inner bead flange is located, or whatever plane that you intend to install the wheel weights on. You may be using a clip-on weight that goes on the bead flange, or you may be using an adhesive weight that goes down inside the rim. In this case, we're using a clip-on weight, and we need to indicate to the machine exactly where this flange is. To do that, we're going to use this arm. If we slide it out of the machine and put it exactly where the wheel weight's going to ride, that tells the machine not only what diameter the rim is, but as well how far away from the flange this bead flange is. So the machine now knows where that is located. In order to get the outside, we need to tell the machine how wide the rim is, because the diameter is not going to change, but the width of the rim is going to depend where that outer bead flange is located. To accomplish that, we're going to use this giant pair of calipers. So the tip of the caliper goes under the bead flange, and then we locate it on the same spot on the other side. And I'm coming up with a measurement of 6.5 inches. And we're going to use the up and down keys to find the closest setting. So 6.5. That means now the machine knows exactly where those two planes where the weights are going to go are located. I can close the safety hood and press start. And the machine is going to spin up that wheel and take the measurements. As you can see here, it's calling for 1/2 ounce on one side of the wheel and a full ounce on the other side of the wheel. We are going to use lead clip-on weights. This weight is uncoated and it's got a narrow clip designed for steel rims. There are special weights designed for all different profiles, because when you get into aluminum wheels, that bead flange might have a bunch of different profiles, and you want to make sure you're using the right weight for the right rim. But in this case, it's a steel rim, so we're going to use these plain steel clip-on weights. So there's my 1/2 ounce. And there's my full ounce. This hammer is designed with jaws for removing the weights, as well for installing them. So we know how much weight we're putting on the inner flange, and now we need to line it up so we know where we're installing it. You can see as I rotate the wheel, the light bars move. And when I have that full bar lined up, that tells me that weight has to go at the 12 o'clock position now. So if I'm off a little bit this way, the lights move, or that way. So I'm lined up perfectly. What I like to do then is take my wheel weight and line it up on the rim and hold it there with my finger. Now that I've located it on the rim, it doesn't matter where I roll the wheel to put it in a more comfortable hammering position, because I'm holding it stationary with regards to the rim. And now, I can just drive it on. And to check my work, okay. All the lights are lit up, and the weight's located. So now I can put the weight on the other side. Rotate it around so all the bars are lit up. All the bars are lit up, so I can now go in, position my weight at the 12 o'clock position, and then, like I said, I like to roll it off to the side. I find it a little easier. And then just pound it in position. And I can check my positioning. All the lights are lined up, and that's at 12 o'clock. Finally, we're ready to check our work. So I close the safety hood, and it spun the wheel up for me. Zeros across the board. This wheel assembly is now properly balanced and ready to go on the vehicle. So I'm just going to give you a closer look at, this is the clip-on weight, and you can see the clip on the back that I just used. And those hook around the flange on the rim. But if you're using a nice rim on a vehicle and you don't want to be able to see those weights, we use these adhesive strip weights. But the procedure is very similar, except you indicate exactly where you want the weight to go as opposed to the location of the bead flange. This is an example of a coated wheel weight. And one thing you want to be aware of is these weights are made out of lead, and lead is harmful if you ingest it. Anytime that you're handling an uncoated weight such as this or this, you want to be careful to wash your hands very thoroughly prior to eating anything or touching your mouth, because lead is harmful if ingested. But the little bit that we handle it with our hands, installing them on the wheels, that's not going to cause any kind of injury.